was just sitting back to read one of my favorite books, and it made me wonder how many seeds are in a pumpkin. So I think we'll have to go visit my pumpkin patch to figure this out. So I'm walking over to our pumpkin patch. Here, I'll turn this around. Okay, so here's the pumpkin patch. All right, so we've got some pumpkins and we've got some gourds. And let's see, which one should I figure out? To figure out how many seeds are in my pumpkin. So you have to look at these variables that are defined first. S stands for the number of seeds, H is the height of the pumpkin, C is the circumference of the pumpkin, and P stands for the imperfections that are in the pumpkin. So like if there's a scratch on the pumpkin or a little hole or something. I didn't use I because I stands for an imaginary number, which is not there yet, and it's not imaginary anyway because the imperfections are there, they're not imaginary. So anyways, P stands for imperfections. So this is the formula for finding the number of seeds in a pumpkin. Okay? So the number of seeds is equal to the height times the circumference minus the imperfections. Okay? So let's say that we counted all the seeds and we don't feel like taking the time to measure the height of the pumpkin. So let's see if we can solve for the height. Okay, so we're going to solve this equation for h. We want to get h by itself. Okay, and remember a variable is usually attached to something more than another variable or another number. And in this case, the h is really attached to the c, and so we're going to get rid of the p first. So I am going to add p to both sides of the equation. Okay, s and p are not like terms. I'm not going to combine them to get and so I'm going to go s plus p equals h times c. Okay, and now I'm getting close. I have h and c on this side. And we're multiplying, we're going to do the opposite. So I'm going to divide by c on both sides of the equation. Okay, and if you look at this side, we can cancel out our c's, and we're left with just h, which was our plan all along. Okay, and we can go s plus p over c is equal to h. Okay, or h equals s plus p over c. So we solved for a variable. We solved for h. So to find the height of a pumpkin, if you want to know the height without measuring it, you can save time, right? Saving time by cutting into your pumpkin, removing all the seeds and counting them, adding the imperfections, and dividing by the circumference. Okay, don't you think that would be a quicker way to find the height? Absolutely. Okay, so we have just solved for h. You could also divide each piece by c and go h equals s divided by c plus. Okay, either is correct. If you're going to plug something into the formula, it's easier to leave it this way. Okay, but sometimes you'll be asked to write each piece as a fraction. All right, so that's solving So let's say that I decided to make gourd cupcakes. Yes, gourd cupcakes. Okay, so we're going to use something called a proportion to solve a problem. Okay, so let's say gourds to cupcakes. Let's say that in my recipe it says we need 5 gourds for every 24 cupcakes. Okay, and a proportion is 2 ratios set equal to each other. Okay, a ratio is like a fraction. Okay, all right, so we want to find out how many gourds it takes to make, let's say, 60 cupcakes. Okay, so I'm going to make 60 cupcakes. That's going to go on the bottom because that's what the cupcakes. I'm going to put a little equal sign in here. Okay, and we want to find out how many gourds it takes to make 60 cupcakes. Okay, so I'm going to put a G here for my variable. So we have 5 over 24 equals G over 60. Okay, and we're going to do something called cross multiplication. Okay, so I'm going to take these 2 things and multiply them and set it equal to these 2 things multiplied together. Okay, and I usually go with the part that has the variable first so that our variable is already on the left. Okay, so I'm going to take 24 times G and I get 24G, right? And that is going to equal 5 times 60. Okay, and 5 times 60 is 300. Okay, and now we need to get G by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 24. Okay, and my 24s cancel. So I get G is equal to 300 divided by 24. And 300 divided by 24 is 12.5. Okay, so my G is equal to 12.5. So it's going to take me 12.5 gourds to make 60 cupcakes. So now we are going to talk about percentages, and we've already talked about proportions. So one way to figure out percentages is to write a proportion. Okay, there are other ways to go about this, and we will see other ways too, but we're going to set up a proportion for now because that's what we're studying right now. So the proportion is percent over 100 equals is over up. Okay, and here is the story. We have a pumpkin patch. Okay, and 12.5% of the pumpkins in our pumpkin patch went missing. We used to have 32 pumpkins. How many pumpkins do we have now? Okay, we're going to see what we know to figure out what we don't know. Okay, so percent out of 100. So the percent was 12.5, and you don't have to change to a decimal in this case because this problem will do that for you because it's putting it over 100. Okay, so this is essentially changing it to a decimal. Okay, so 12.5 over 100 equals is over of. Okay, and we know how many there were. Okay, and we know that we're finding 12.5% of the 32 is what? Okay, so we don't know what is because I just said is what. Did that make sense at all? But anyway, we don't know what the is. Okay, so we're going to put an X there or whatever variable you like. How about eat the pumpkins? And it's out of my total, which was 32. Okay, so now we have a lovely little proportion. I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to take P times 100, so that would be 100P equals, and I'm going to take 12.5 times 32, and that is 400. So I'll divide by 100, and P is equal to 4. So that means there were 4 pumpkins that went missing, because I said there was 12.5% of our pumpkins that went missing. So 4 pumpkins went missing, but my question was, how many do we have left? Right, so then we just take 32 minus 4, and we have 28 pumpkins left. Now we are going to talk about rates, and we are going to convert some different rates. Okay, so let's say we are going to carve some pumpkins. Let's say that I can get 2 pumpkins ready for carving in 75 minutes. So that means cutting off the top and scooping up all the stuff. Okay, it takes a while. I can prepare 2 pumpkins in 75 minutes. Okay? All right, so let's say then, just because, you know, this has to be true, let's say 1 pumpkin is equal to 5 gourds. That means I could prepare 5 gourds in the time that it takes to prepare 1 pumpkin. Okay, so this is important when we're figuring out the rate. So my question is, how many gourds can I prepare per hour? So we're going to take 2 pumpkins in 75 minutes, and we want to convert this to gourds per hour. Okay, so that's what we want to do. We want to get to gourds per hour. So basically, gourds needs to be on the top, hours needs to be on the bottom. Okay, so we need to convert minutes to hours, and we need to convert pumpkins to gourds. Okay, it doesn't matter which one we do first. Since pumpkins are on the top, I think I might as well just look at the pumpkins first. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we are going to multiply. Basically, we're multiplying by 1. Each time we multiply by something, we're multiplying by 1 in order to get to where we can cross out some of our units. Okay, so I want to cross out units. So since pumpkins is on the top, I'm going to put pumpkins on the bottom. Okay, because you can cross out things if one's on the top and one's on the bottom, and we want to cross things out because that's fun. Okay, so if we look at pumpkins, we want to look at how do pumpkins and gourds compare? Well, I can have one pumpkin is equal to 5 gourds. Okay, so do you see how we're multiplying by 1? Because these are the same, so 5 gourds, 1 pumpkin, they're equal. Okay, so now we've got the pumpkins, and now we've got the gourds, okay, and that's what needs to be on the top. Okay, but we need to get to hours. Okay, so let's take care of these minutes, and minutes are on the bottom, so we're going to put minutes on the top. Okay, and we want to get to hours, so we know that we need to have these units. Okay, and how do they compare? Okay, good. We have 60 minutes in 1 hour. Okay, and we know that we're done setting this up when we have these 2 units. We have gourds and we have hours. So we're good to go. Okay, and now we get to cancel things out. That's the fun part. Okay, so first let's look at the units. Okay, so I'm going to cross out pumpkins. I'm going to cross out minutes. And now we're left with gourds and hours. Okay, so I can just multiply straight across and go 2 times 5 times 60, which ends up being 600, and I can divide by 75. Or I can cross out more numbers, which seems fun too. So I'll cross out, how about I'll cross out my 75 and my 5. Okay? My 5 can change to a 1. My 75 can change to a 15 because 5 goes into 75 15 times. And then look at this. I can cancel my 15 with my 60. So I can change this to a 1 and this to a 4 because 15 goes into 64 times. So now I can just multiply straight across. 2 times 1 times 4 is 8. And the label would be gourds. So 8 gourds. And we have all 1s. So this would be 8 gourds per hour. So that means that I could prepare 8 gourds every hour. Isn't that interesting to know? But wait, don't you want to find out how many seeds were in my pumpkin? Isn't that kind of the point? Okay, so here's my pumpkin, and I just did the measurements, and it is 11 inches tall, And the circumference is 25 inches. And it has 8 little imperfections, little scratches or holes or whatever. So 8 imperfections. So let's see how many seeds this pumpkin has using a formula. All right, so let's figure it out. Okay, so I did measure my pumpkin and I noticed that the height was 11 inches. Both of these values will be in inches. Okay, the height was 11, the circumference was 25, and there were 8 imperfections. They were tiny little holes or little scratches that you could barely notice. They're still imperfections, so we have to count them because it's part of the formula, right? Okay, and so the number of seeds is going to be 11 times 25, okay, and to figure out 11 times 25 without a calculator really quickly, you can just split the two numbers apart, okay, then we're going to